Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast. Our primary objective is to motivate and inspire our listeners to never quit. The reality of life is simple. We all fall. We all fail. At times, we get knocked down. The question is, do we get back up? Are we stronger? Are we better prepared to attain the maximum of our potential? Thank you for joining our No Quit tribe. As you go for your greatness today, never quit. And remember, we rise by lifting others up. Welcome to episode number 361 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is chasing failure. Our quote of the day comes to us from Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. As we are just beginning this year's basketball season, if your team could use a stronger culture, we would love if you grabbed a copy of our new book, The Positivity Tribe in the Locker Room. You can head on over to Amazon or wherever books are sold. For more information, you can also check out our website, thepositivitytribe.com. I really enjoyed today's episode and had a great time speaking with Ryan Leake. His new book, Chasing Failure, is a quick read that I would definitely recommend. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Ryan, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Oh, man, it's an honor to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. First question we ask everybody is, are you ready to positively impact at least one person today?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, right after this, I have an executive coaching session, and I'm just super excited just for the future of my client. And I wake up every single day trying to figure out ways to add value to people.
I think that is the best way to go about anything, and not even in business or sales, just in life in general. And I think if these last 20 months during this pandemic has taught us anything, for me personally, it's just the desire and need to impact other people in a positive way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So as we spoke about, the number one objective of our show is to motivate and inspire listeners to never give up. And I was curious if you yourself have either a no-quit story or perhaps a challenging time where you could have given up or given in, but you didn't.
Yeah, actually, the most recent one is actually the book that just came out called Chasing Failure. There's so many things that go into writing a book, and I think people see it on the shelf and think, oh, they just did it. I don't think people understand what it takes to do something like that. Not only to write a book, but to also sell a book, and so something like that can be very, very daunting. In fact, one of the things I talk about in the book is that I think sometimes successful people make it look easy and make it look perfect from the outside, but they don't realize the hurdles. And so in my book, I tried to let people see underneath the hood a little bit of just going, this thing is not as sexy as I would like to portray myself as. And there are lots of flaws here, lots of setbacks, lots of mind games, and so many moments where you just say, I don't know that I want to do this, need to do this, but you just keep going anyways.
So speaking of that and touching on that, I just finished reading your book and I thought it was awesome, which is why we're doing the interview today. But you shared in the book that it is your fifth edition of the book. Yeah. And I just want to, first of all, I want to commend you on being transparent and vulnerable as you were in this book. I think for me, being not only an author myself, but an avid reader, I think when you can connect with an author or authors that share things to a different level, and I think to your point is people like successful people make things look really glorious and you don't see a lot of the work. But I got to just ask you, what is it that kept you going during those 4 prior editions of the book? Because I know for me, I'd been wanting to write a book and talking about it for years and years, but until you do it, you can't say you did it. But I just got to ask, what kept you going during those 4 prior ones? Because I think the finished result obviously is awesome, but I wish I could have almost seen like all 5 editions and be like, all right, I see how you changed all of it.
Yeah, some people have actually emailed me and said, "Hey, can you send me the first 4 editions?" And I will. I'll send it to people just so if they're really curious and they want to do all that reading, you certainly can. What kept me going was there's just a few voices in my life that I believed, and that just said, "Hey, I think you need to swing one more time at this fastball a little bit. And I think it could just impact a lot of people. And I can't tell you how many messages I've gotten. Book's been out, I don't know, a couple months now. I can't tell you how many messages have said the exact same thing. Thank you for writing a fifth edition for me. I've heard that time and time again. Thank you for writing a fifth edition for me. And sometimes what I do whenever I'm in the middle of a project or considering giving up or feeling just weary from the journey of trying to do something big, sometimes I'll actually just imagine what someone might say. Like I'll just put it in my head, like, this could impact someone if I can just finish. And it'll never be perfect. When I did the audio version of the book, there were so many things that I'd change that. I'd reword it this way. And I was sitting with my publisher. We were getting breakfast in Nashville a few months back, and I just said, "Are all authors? Do they all feel this? Like, do they ever feel like it's done?" And they went, "No one ever feels like it's done." I went, "Okay." So I got a little bit of company. So sometimes I'll even just imagine someone that is being impacted if I finish, and that can help me get across the finish line a little bit.
That's awesome, and I think that it's so powerful of sometimes just putting yourself in somebody else's point of view or trying to get their perspective. And I think for myself, like I said, it took me a long time to get the first book done. Is you ask those questions, you have those challenges, you continually ask, what if? Is this good enough? Is it too short, too long? Is it too funny, too serious? So I really like that. One thing that you wrote early on in the book that I would love to just get your point of view on is you wrote, "What's worse, failing while trying or failing by not trying?"
Yeah. No matter what we do, there's a risk. And that's what most people don't realize. Doesn't matter what you do. There is a risk no matter what you do. There's a risk in doing nothing, and there's a risk in doing something. And so ultimately, we have to make a decision about the kind of people that we want to be in the future. Do we want to wake up 20 years from now going, "Oh, I did nothing and it cost me something because I did nothing"? Or 20 years from now, man, I took some chances. I swung for the fences. I missed some, I made some. But you know what? I'm not afraid. And for me, that to me is what's important about chasing failure, is the internal freedom that a person can have that says there's no limitations on me. I'm a free person. And I meet so many people who are just paralyzed by their fears and addicted to comfort and safety. And they don't really ever get to step outside of their comfort zone because, they want to keep up with the status quo, so to speak. And so what I encourage people to do isn't to fail on purpose, but to just not be afraid of that, and not live in this world where they just go, "Man, if I fail, well, man, my identity is connected to it." Because what I've discovered is when we talk about failure and we talk about success, we're really not talking about failure or success. What we're really talking about is rejection or acceptance. That's what we're really talking about. Because the reason we're afraid to fail is because we are afraid of being rejected by a particular group of people or a particular person. For some, it's their parents. For some, it's colleagues, people they went to college with. For some people, it's people on Facebook. For another person, it might be somebody that they went to middle school with. But they're going, there is someone in our world that is holding a carrot of this is what it takes for us to love you, admire you, like you, which means we'll give you some likes. So if you do these certain things, this is how you can be accepted in our circle, in our world, in our neighborhood, on our team, in our school. And if you're not these things, then you'll be rejected. So most of us are afraid to fail because we are afraid of being rejected, sometimes by strangers, sometimes by people we love.
I love how you just worded that. And speaking of rejected by people we love or strangers, I posted something a couple times now actually, and I just prefaced it as, what's more important, the people that are in front of you right now or strangers on social media? And I think just to jump into, because it's on point with what you just said in your book. You wrote something. The purpose of social media was to help us connect, to be more social with one another. But the more we use it, the further we get away from its original design. Most people get online to connect, but they leave not only feeling disconnected, but also with an extreme case of envy or shame. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's just unbelievably powerful. And I think it goes to the degree of how, and this is just my opinion. I'd love to get your point of view, but I
Yeah.
think social media was created to connect, to socially connect online with different people, whether they're past people in your life or friends or just strangers. But I think you hit it on the head, is so many people talk about social media in such a negative way. And I think
Mm-hmm.
because of that, competing with the Joneses, or what you said initially when we started off is, success looks amazing. So I'm looking at your page or someone else's and it's like, oh wow, Ryan's doing this. And what you don't see is the hours
Mm-hmm.
upon hours. So why don't you just, get your 2 cents on what you wrote
Yeah.
in the book? Because I think it really is important and it's very poignant for where we are in 2021.
Yeah. Yeah. I read the other day that Twitter is of all of its users, 80% of its users never post any content. 80%. 80% of its users are just scrolling, watching other people live. The other 20% are actually producing content. They're putting out quotes, they're sharing videos, they're creating content for the other 80% of people to either like, comment on. But most people on social are watching other people live. And so it speaks a lot to our culture. This is very, very interesting. Of do I want to be the type of person that's just watching other people live? And that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you got to ask yourself, what does that do to your brain? What does that do to your heart over the course of a decade? How does that make you feel about your life literally being on the sidelines watching someone else live? And then if you are a content creator and then you also are scrolling and comparing your content to someone else's, what is that? What does that really do? And so I do think that social media has gotten a bad rap, especially over the last few years. And I think it's a tool. And I think we have to put it in its place. I think it's a tool to add value to other people's lives. I think it can be used to inspire people. I do think it is a platform that can create some pretty interesting dialogue, again, with strangers across the country that normally we'd never be able to talk about that. Or, it kind of creates a central town hall meeting, if you will, that can be toxic, but that also can be liberating. It could let people know that what they're feeling and experiencing is not isolated to just them, that someone in New York can connect with someone in Los Angeles and in Phoenix and in Utah that says, you know what, my heart hurts over something that's happening in Afghanistan. Like, in a moment, you could do that in 15 seconds. That is a powerful tool. And so I think it just needs its proper place. And I think for me personally, I've had to limit my time on social media. And I think that is, without giving it a bad rep, it's what I did with it that was wrong. The medium itself is fine. But I've actually had to, I don't have any social media apps on my personal cell phone. For me personally, I don't have that. Um, I'm in a position where someone runs my social media. The reason I pay them to do that is to save me time. It protects my heart. It protects my mind. It allows me to focus on creating new content. So we have a social media meeting every single week that says, hey, here's the content that we're going to be putting out. And I can go in on Safari and comment here and there, but it doesn't consume hours of my time like it used to. I remember the first time I pulled up screen time, whenever screen time came out on my iPhone, and I saw that I had spent, I don't know, 12 or 15 hours combined with all social media platforms for that week. And I just thought about what I charge for executive coaching per hour. And I just did the math and I just went, wow, I lost a lot of money watching other people live. And I just understand the value of my time and what I can do with it. And so it's not an anti-social media thing. It's not the next generation needs to get their act together. It's not that. It's in light of my future goals and in light of the person that I want to be, in light of the focus I want to bring to my family, to my business, to keynotes, to my clients. I can't spend that much time on social media. So, and there are seasons where I have to be more engaged than others. But for the most part, not having it on my phone, I became a better human all around. And just in how I parent, how I treat my wife, how I show up for my friends, so on and so forth.
That was extremely powerful, and in those couple minutes, you shared some really key points. And I think the one thing that stood out for me is the limit of social media, but the other perspective, which I talk a lot about either from stage or work with my clients, it's what social media can do, unlike a lot of things in life. If you and I were having lunch with two other people and we didn't like one or two of the people's opinions, out of respect for them, you're not just going to get up and walk away from lunch because they're going to be like, all right, that Ryan guy or that Chris guy are terrible guys. But with social media, you can mute people. You can not see their things. So I challenge people, and I challenge any of our listeners, is it's not about being demonstrative and anti somebody or something, but it's, if Ryan was putting out stuff that just I didn't want to see, but he's a good buddy of mine and I didn't want to unfollow him or block him, you can just mute his posts or stories. And I think it's the powerful perspective of what you put in front of your eyes and ears and what you see and what you listen to and what you then say yourself or repost or reshare. It can be extremely toxic. But what you said to begin that about how it's a tool and how there are inspiring people, I love my social media from the perspective of what I see, because I see other motivational speakers, I see other podcasters, I see people in the sports world and the business world that are doing inspiring things, and it's not to tell anybody that who they're following is wrong, but I see the stuff that I want to see because it has an impact on me. But I'm just, that's awesome that you don't have it on your personal phone. So kudos to you for that, because I've talked about doing that. I've hinted at certain things, but I've yet to actually pull the plug on it. So that's awesome.
Well, I think what you said is so powerful in the sense that you have to, again, it's called a news feed for a reason. In other words, you are feeding your mind something every single day. And so we've all heard the phrase, you are what you eat. And so your brain is what you feed it. And so I think taking inventory of who you follow, why you follow them. And I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine. I said, hey, I want you to know I'm going to be muting you. And here's why. I struggle with envy. And you're doing so well. And I want to celebrate you. And the only way I can do that is if I don't get you in my newspaper every single morning. And so I'm calling you to let you know how much I love you and how excited I am for your success. It's not you, it's me. But if you don't see me comment, if you don't see me like, it's not because you did anything. This is on me. And for me to really be your friend and truly desire for you to win, I need to do this for me. And that's not an easy conversation to have. But for me, it's going, I'd rather be a real friend, not just an internet friend.
If there was a mic drop moment for podcasts, I think that would be it, because I think that is something that you just echoed what I said in regards to meeting people and what you're seeing. And I think that's the word envy is something that I think we all struggle with in some way, shape, or form, but it's aspiring to be better or aspiring to be somebody. So, for example, if you put out your book and it's successful, and I didn't have my book out and I hadn't done that, maybe I would be jealous. And being able to pick up my phone or in person say, Ryan, look, first of all, I think that's awesome, but I just need to let you know I've been talking about writing a book. I've been in the process, and right now I just need to step away from that because it's just putting me in a weird or negative mindset. I don't want in any way, shape, or form to not acknowledge you or honor you. But I guess the follow up question slash comment I have for that is I wonder how much different social media would be is if that was people's natural or only way to step away. So instead of me posting or sharing or telling people how much I hate you or you're this guy Ryan's a fraud, don't follow. What if the only way was to step away from that and mute as opposed to put out negative comments or feeds? I think we'd be in a very different social media world.
Yeah. There's a couple of books that have come out about just, what social media is doing to our brains. And again, I really believe it comes down to one, who we're following, and again, how much stinking time we give to other companies when we could be building our own. I mean, it's just like, I think people, for me, it really is a time thing. And when I sit with executives around the country, the number one thing I'm driving home is the value of their time. Their time is so valuable. And I'm going, where are you spending the most of your time? Wherever you spend that's where it's going to win. You're a leader. So whatever you're giving the most attention to is going to have the most success. And so when we just give that away to being in that 80% of people that are just watching other people live, it feels like it's mindless, but I'm just going, there's so much. And I've talked to so many people that are just, I'm just so busy. 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 I'm like, well, let's look at your screen time. Let's see how busy you really are.
I have to say, I'm going to challenge all of our listeners. What Ryan just said is awesome. If you have not gone onto your iPhone, and I don't have a Droid or Samsung or one of those others, so I can't say exactly where to get it, but just within the iPhone, if you have not gone onto your phone and looked at screen time for social media or the different apps you use, I would challenge anybody, not right now. You have to definitely listen to the rest of the episode because Ryan's going to continue to deliver valuable information. But I would challenge you to look at that because I will tell you, Ryan, when all the speaking and coaching that I do, the number one, I have a whole slide and piece to all my talks, whether it's half hour or longer, on excuses, because I think we all have way too many of them. But the number one most common excuse I get all the time is what you just said, not enough time. And I will challenge people right there on the spot. And I will say, without sharing to everybody, we all just said, or we agreed that the number one reason why we can't do this or do that or why we don't work out is we don't have time. I challenge you right now, open up your phone, look at the time you spend on it, and then say, it's not enough time? Because I think it's really not that it's not enough time, but it's not a priority for you right now. So I think that is awesome. I'm excited to ask you this question based on just finishing your book. And I know you know the famous Jim Rohn quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yep. If I could grant you dinner with any 5 people, dead or alive, who would you pick?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive.
I would go with Jesus Christ. I'd have to know. That would be awesome. Barack Obama, Donald Trump.
Ooh.
I'm neither Republican nor Democrat, but I'm just fascinated by world leaders in general. And I would just be fascinated by that. Kobe Bryant. Oprah. That's my 5. But I might throw Steph Curry in there too. if I could throw in a 6. That was off the top of my head.
I love that. So you brought him up, and I have a huge amount of respect for him. And I actually didn't appreciate his career as much, but you got a chance to spend some time with Kobe before he passed. So
Yeah.
maybe a difficult question, but was there one thing or was there one real key takeaway from that time you got to spend with Kobe?
Kobe is, we got to, at Staples Center, got to hang out for just a brief 10 minutes. It was a powerful 10 minutes. He was focused, so focused. And one of the things that I learned about Kobe is what it takes to be him is so much more than what we could ever see on camera. Just think about it like this. For more than half of his life, he spent Christmases playing basketball. He gave up half of his Christmases, more than half of his Christmases, playing basketball. What people don't realize about someone at Kobe's level is you're playing 100 games every single year. That's a third of your year that you're playing actual professional games. That doesn't include practices. That doesn't include the Olympics. That doesn't include all-star games. That doesn't 100 nights a year. You are putting your body on the line every single night. And whether you win, lose, go for 81, lose in overtime, play, regardless of what your mood is, someone puts a microphone in front of your face and says, "How you doing?" And having that's a whole separate thing that the guy on the end of the bench doesn't actually have to deal with. He might have played 100 games, but he's not Kobe Bryant. And being in a room where he is doing several meet and greets after a game, I was thinking to myself, well, what if they had lost? How would he do this? Because to those kids, he's still Kobe Bryant. And to think about him doing that 100 times every single year, plus appearances and commercials, all of that, it's like, oh, and he's got to go actually learn how to shoot a basketball. He's actually got to go figure out a way to inspire teammates. And so what it takes to be great at that level is so much more than dribbling a basketball. That's what I learned of just his. I really admire and respect LeBron James so much for who he is off the court, how he handles the media, how he handles business, and still finds a way to be excellent at his craft. Is something that you just respect because it requires so much to be those kind of people. And so I got insight that day of just like, man, there's so much that goes into your whole day, and you still got to go home and be a dad and a husband and all of that.
That's awesome. We're going to switch lanes to what we call our hot seat questions. And the only request we have of you is you spit out the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Last meal, you can pick absolutely anything. What do you pick?
Pizza.
All-time favorite smell?
Curve cologne.
Other than basketball, what is your favorite sport?
Football.
Favorite all-time team?
Chicago Bulls, 96.
Favorite movie?
The Dark Knight / The Dark Knight Rises / Avengers Endgame / Black Panther.
That was kudos to you for that / Favorite book?
How to Win Friends and Influence People
/ Chasing Failure
/ anything by Adam Grant and Ryan Holiday.
What is your favorite app you have or use on your phone?
Pages.
What is the background picture on your phone?
My family.
Do you have an all-time favorite quote?
I will not be labeled as average.
And what is that one song, no matter whenever you hear it, you automatically just tune it up and rock out to it?
The song is going in my head. I'm just like, what is the name of that song? Lean Back.
By Terror Squad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my it's funny, I was on this morning. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of social media and adding value, I was curious if there are one or two people that put out really positive and impactful content that you would like to maybe introduce for the first time, or just re-excite some of our listeners to go follow them, or maybe follow them again.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're new. John Maxwell is somebody that's consistently adding value to people. John Gordon is someone that's consistently adding value to people. John Acuff, apparently John's. If your name's John, then apparently you are adding value to people in some way, shape, or form. But those are some people that Ronnie Doss is another one that is a motivational speaker and coach that puts out some really great content as well.
Is his middle name John by any chance?
I actually don't know his middle name, so but wouldn't be surprised, right?
I appreciate that. And for our listeners who want to, first of all, follow you, find out more about you, and then what's the best way for them to go ahead and get your book, and what's the best way for them to, I guess, get in contact with you if they'd like to follow up as well?
Yes, I'm Ryan Leak everywhere. RyanLeak.com, Ryan Leak on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. If you type in my name, typically you will find me. So, and you can get the book at RyanLeak.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Awesome. And last question we have for you is the same question we ask everybody, is if you have any parting words you'd like to leave with our listeners today.
Yeah, I want to encourage the procrastinator, the person that is hesitating, the person that is waiting for something to be perfect before they move forward. Just take one step today. It will never be perfect, and that's okay. And your identity is not on the line with whatever you do next. The rejection versus acceptance thing sometimes is a figment of our imagination that is puppeteering and pulling the strings on us moving forward or moving backwards or doing nothing at all. But like I said at the beginning, no matter what we do, it's a risk. Doing nothing is a risk. Doing something is a risk. And I can't speak for you, but I want to spend my life doing something and taking the right risk. So I'm going to encourage that person that's been waiting, stalling, to figure out at least one next step and get one win today. That's what I want to encourage someone to do.
I think that's a fantastic way to end today's episode. And for our listeners, I would definitely recommend following Ryan, but also go ahead and grab a copy of his new book. I can guarantee you will not be disappointed. And Ryan, I appreciate you, and I hope that you and I can connect again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to episode number 361. Ryan added a ton of value on today's episode, and I truly appreciate his time. In his parting words, Ryan encouraged the procrastinator, and I want to echo those remarks. Stop waiting, stop stalling, and go for that first win today. And remember, we rise by lifting others up. And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.